To you, the saints, this sermon recap is for Reformation Sunday, the year C, the year of Luke, but on Reformation we get a text from Jeremiah, we get a text from John 8, but also the psalm for Reformation Sunday is Psalm 46. God is our refuge and our strength, a very present help in trouble, therefore we will not fear. Though the earth should change, though the mountains should shake in the heart of the sea, though its waters roar and foam, though the mountains tremble with its tumult. There is a river whose streams make glad the city of God, the holy habitation of the Most High. God is in the midst of the city, it shall not be moved. God will help it when the morning dawns. The nations are in an uproar, the kingdoms totter. He utters his voice, the earth melts. The Lord of hosts is with us, the God of Jacob is our refuge. Come, behold the works of the Lord. See what desolations he has brought on the earth. He makes the wars cease to the end of the earth. He breaks the bow and shatters the spear. He burns the shields with fire. Be still and know that I am God. I am exalted among the nations. I am exalted in the earth. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. A wonderful day of celebration yesterday, Reformation Sunday, October 27th at University. We had another congregation's choir. Our choir joined them in their worship earlier in the morning, and then their choir came and joined our choir and us in worship here at University at the 10 o'clock hour. And so knowing that going in to celebrate the music that is Reformation, I began talking about different saints at different times in my life whose favorite hymns, that the hymn now becomes part of my memory of them. There was a dear lady whose favorite hymn was O Christ the Same, partly because of the tune O Danny Boy, but the sense that even as the last line of the hymn in each of its three verses, we bring our thanks for our yesterdays, we bring our thanks for this, the present hour, we bring our thanks for all that is to be. The sense that Christ is our past, Christ is our present, Christ is our future, and telling the story that when she died, there in her home, her husband called, and as I arrived there in the middle of the night, he was holding her hand, humming, singing this hymn. Another gal who let me know that Amazing Grace, and so has this memory of her grandfather, and so had our pianist play just little verses, little pieces of verses from these hymns, all to get to A Mighty Fortress, and how that hymn for me is a memory first of the Clemation show Davy and Goliath back when I was a kid, getting ready for church, and how even as a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old thought there was something important or something cool, that those characters, Davy and Goliath on my TV, had something to do with me as a Lutheran, had something to do with the saints, the people that I would go worship with, and that somehow was contained in the sound of the hymn. Different speculation as to why Luther wrote the hymn, either at the death of a friend or wrote it as the plague began to approach his part of the world, part of Germany, or as some celebration of some diet or conference. But regardless, we know it comes from Psalm 46. And so of this celebration that was two choirs together, this celebration that was the music, A Mighty Fortress is Our God, the celebration that was Parents' Weekend. We had some parents as guests of ours in worship, parents of the students of the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire. Two really simple points that come of Psalm 46. That most psalms, some psalms of trust, especially of fortress or God is my rock and my strength, are individual psalms of trust. Obviously Psalm 46, and so too is A Mighty Fortress, is a song in psalm of a trust that is a we, us, that we trust this God who is faithful, that we trust this God who is refuge and fortress. That somehow when our voices meld together, trust and faith and hope becomes something between us that holds us not only together, but holds us with one another in this God. That hymns then become a place that we stick a finger into the memory of our lives And of that place and time and emotion, fear, despair, hope, celebration, those words, that hymn then kind of carry us back to that place. And so when we sing together, "A Mighty Fortress Our God," that hymn then is about David and Goliath. It's about this saint who loved, O Christ, the same. That is about this saint who loves amazing grace. That somehow our voices together in proclaiming, "O God, you are our fortress and rock, a very present help in time of trouble," that there's something wondrous about that singing together. A second kind of obvious point that the trust and the hymn and the psalm really is about God. That God is in the midst of all creation. God's presence is what we celebrate and what we worship, and what renews and restores and reforms the church age after age. That the only difference between the mountains and the places that roar and rage and totter is that God is in the midst of them, and that is salvation, and that is hope. That so much of our lives are bent on self-destruction or self-defeating, and so there's talk of war in the 46th Psalm. That there is the destruction who practice life this way, and yet of a God who is rock and salvation, there is something saving and restoring and redeeming in this God. In the psalm, it's in a sense of temple or tabernacle, this place that of God that is real and particular, but for us who follow Jesus, that fulfillment then is in the person of the Christ, likewise real and particular and forever, and a hope that we then in O Christ the same, that was and is to come. Reformation, a grand time, a grand day to celebrate not just what was in Martin Luther and the Reformers, but what is in this day. And in Psalm 46, that we gather together as two choirs from two congregations, one voice, that we gather as a congregation, was, is, and is to come, David and Goliath and the rest, that we gather as students and parents from far away, and that we sing a song together, a we song, an us song that is about God, and a God who is refuge and strength, a salvation and a hope. A mighty fortress is our God, a bulwark never failing. Grace and peace to you in all things. Be well.